family from neighbourhood of Delft, who in the 1600s, the late 1600s, made the first great discoveries of the microbe world. The BBC thought they would look at what it is that he did. And so they sent a young reporter to the Netherlands to have a look at how Leeuwenhoek did his work. And there is one little bit here I do want you to watch out for. That is when the presenter says, well, what am I looking at here? And Hans Jonker, the man who's made the little model microscope, says, you're looking at the wrong side, which for me is the highlight of this little piece of memorable television.
Van Leeuwenhoek built a staggering 247 microscopes, a new one every couple of months for over 50 years, and told nobody how he made them. We've placed a drop of lake water onto a slide that slots into the device. With a bit of luck, I'll be able to see what Van Leeuwenhoek saw. What do I actually do? Where am I looking?
At the wrong side, you must look through this hole.
Yep, I can see green.
There is a focusing knob.
There's a focus.
Yes, there is a focusing knob.
Yeah, that works. That really works. It's now in focus. Oh, wow. Oh my God, you can actually see moving creatures.
Yes.
Oh God, that's incredible. There's a tiny, tiny bug in there, which is scooting around, which I guess is a protozoa. That's astonishing.
Yes, it is astonishing. It's astonishingly bad. Oddly enough, in a program that's just gone out in Korea, I was asked to demonstrate this, and you may like to see this because it shows you what you should have been able to see through one of those little microscopes.
네덜란드의 직물 상인이었던 안톤 판 레벤후크.
You would not think this could be a microscope. If you have a look, that is an exact copy of the microscope that Leeuwenhoek had in the 1600s. You could focus it with these screws, so you would then hold it towards light.
이 작은 현미경을 통해 레벤후크가 발견한 건
Till Leeuwenhoek, with his little microscope, saw microorganisms, nobody ever realized that the world was filled with billions, trillions of tiny living creatures that affect our everyday.
바로 미생물의 세계였습니다.
First they thought, he's wrong, he's exaggerating, he's imagining things. But then in time they realized that this Dutchman was the first person in history to realize there is an invisible universe which we'd never seen before.
It is quite interesting to look at those two bits of film together. The bit at the bottom is a film that I made. Curiously, a BBC producer said to me, would you be able to make some videos through these early microscopes? It had never been done before in the world. And it was because of that request that I carried out these wonderful experiments and showed what you could see back in the 1600s with a tiny lens in a microscope, a lens no bigger than the head of a pin. And all the bead could do was to show this fuzzy blur, which is hardly better than you can see with the naked eye. In the end, the BBC never commissioned a series. Though other countries are always interested, and here's another example from Asia. This is from Channel News Asia, a few extracts from the programme.
And lecturer Dr. Brian J. Ford from having a long-lasting impact on science.
Well, he has done research on mad cow disease and even had laws changed because of his discoveries. Now, we had a chance to speak to him when he was in Singapore to deliver a distinguished visitors lecture at the Singapore Science Centre.
Well, one of the key studies that you have done and that's made really headlines in the world of science is intelligent cell. What did you mean by that?
There are some amoebae, and I'm doing studies of these at the moment in England. There are some amoebae that construct a home for themselves. They pick up things like tiny specks of sand and cement them into a beautiful vase-shaped house in which they live. And sometimes you can look at cells under the microscope and see that they've been damaged. And the way that they repair themselves by actually carrying out reconstruction work is much more than just a simple chemical system. Some cells within the cell have a tiny eye.
You know, when science is explained so easy in terms that we can easily understand, isn't it fascinating?
And now, one of the examples I mentioned there was the way in which some amoebae, not so simple as we think, some amoebae build a home for themselves. Here's an example. There's a scanning electron microscope picture on the left and a drawing I've done on the right of a shell which this little amoeba called differentiator. This is the amoeba here, hanging out to the bottom of its shell. That one is a dead and empty one. I have in fact spoken on these on this stage in the past. And I think somebody became aware of this fascinating research because, believe it or not, it turned up on BBC Two in an extremely interesting context. And I want you to watch the reaction of the panelists. Because producers always say, I don't think people are going to find this interesting, or people don't really want to know. Well, just take a look at this and see what the likes of Bill Bailey and Eddie Izzard had to say.
When an amoeba splits up, who gets the house?
Oh, I see.
Who gets the house?
Well, yes,
I thought the whole idea was that they split, they get two houses. There's some sort of perfect world of...
Do you know what sort of houses amoebas can build? I mean, they're single-celled, and it's just part of the amazing nature of all living creatures is that even incredibly simple ones, like an amoeba, you don't get much simpler, can actually build a protective house. They assemble grains of sand, and they make that protects them. Even to the spikes. Those spikes are deliberate. They can... Isn't it incredible?
Is that loads of grains of sand they pull around?
Yeah, each one of those. It's about the size of a full stop on an average newspaper.
Wow.
It's tiny.
That's insane. We've never heard that before.
That's a
No,
goal.
That is actually quite interesting.
Hooray! What happens is the amoeba goes along as a single-celled organism, and the odd bit of sand it absorbs and saves up, and some it uses to build this house. And then when it's time to split, it takes away the house, and the half it leaves behind has got all the building materials left, so it can quickly build its own house. So that's how they split it when they have a split.
Why have we never heard of that?
I don't know. I suppose really.
They never mentioned that at school.
There's been a conspiracy to keep this information from us.
Isn't that absolutely fascinating? I mean, if any producer really wants evidence of the fact that it does catch the attention, there's a good one. And if you look down the microscope at these spores being released by red algae, they're not just interesting, they're also exquisitely beautiful. If we look at this under the high-power microscope, you can actually see how the end of the sporangium opens, and these little lipid sexual cells, these are the equivalent of sperm for these algae, are being expelled. I mean, it has the beauty of an oil painting to it, ladies and gentlemen. Now, let's just see how clever they can be. I want to show you just one example. I can show you so many. But here is a broken algal cell. It's been popped, it's burst, it's gone flat, it's empty, it's dead. Just speed it up 25 times. And what happens? The parent cell body reinflates it. It's mended the hole in some magical way. We have no idea how it does that. And it pumps it up until it's back to its original shape. Just like repairing a tyre. Now, it's a pretty neat trick when they blow up your tyre at the garage, I agree, but you've got blokes and machines. This is just an alga taking all those decisions and working it out for itself. And to close, I'm going to show you just one more time that hunting shot of this single-celled creature and how he goes scullying through the pond, comes across a little diatom shell, which he inspects, but he doesn't really want it. Then he suddenly senses, perhaps through movement or taste, we have no idea, a paramecium, and he leaps upon him. Sensing he's hunting, he's finding his food, he's identifying what he wants to eat and neglecting what he doesn't. Because, ladies and gentlemen, living cells, as the QI panelists remind me, actually are much more interesting than anybody realizes. Carry with you, if you would, some of these extraordinary sights, because you'll see them here today, but you won't see them anywhere else. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.